Welcome back to The Price of Business. I'm your host, Kevin Price, talking to you about you and your business. It's delighted to have Lee Kaplan here on the program. Lee's a brilliant legal mind and a contributor on The Price of Business. He also helps us with great articles and audio over at usdailyreview.com and was recently involved in an interview we did at HuffingtonPost.com. So you get around a lot, Lee Kaplan.
Well, that's somewhat voluntary and somewhat involuntary. I'm very opinionated.
Yeah, you're kind of in that position where people are demanding that from you, and that's a good thing. You're with a great law firm, Smeyser, Kaplan, and Veselka, which people can learn about at skv.com. Tell us about the firm and tell us exactly what you do at the firm.
Well, we do trial work. I was actually getting ready to go to trial next Tuesday when I got a call at about 2 p.m. yesterday from someone who said pencils down. In this case, the executives managed to resolve that controversy. That particular case was a dispute over crude oil hauling charges in the Eagleford and whether or not somebody had been overcharged. So just all kinds of litigation ranging from whistleblower lawsuits to contract disputes to various fraud claims or patent or trade secrets claims. So different kinds of lawsuits. We have a bunch of young lawyers with a lot of moxie and a lot of brains who, get after it. I'm really happy to work with them.
That's fantastic. Hey, I want to put you on the spot. Usually you have a topic. I want to play with this one a little bit, though, before we get to your topic. What about the NFL and their handling of domestic abusers?
Well, I'd say they mishandled this in a big way. It'll be interesting to see how Roger Goodell does this. I mean, every time I hear somebody talk about let's have a national conversation about something, I almost want to gag. I mean, the truth is, look, you don't beat up your wife or your girlfriend or your boyfriend. You don't hate people because of their race. Every time I hear about a national conversation, what that tells me is that there are people out there who are either prejudiced or lack self-control. And I don't care if it's Charles Barkley throwing somebody through a window or Justin Bieber abusing the cops or Ray Rice beating up his wife. We ought to all, as individuals, know better. And if you don't know better, there ought to be consequences. And I would say the NFL was a little late to the table on this one. They got criticized when they initially suspended him for just 2 games, and they were going to increase that quite a bit, and then this video got released. And the little bit I heard this morning indicates they asked the wrong police force or the wrong prosecutor for the video, and they never asked Ray Rice's lawyer for it. And, of course, given their ability to enforce morals and good conduct on the players and the owners, I would say they just dropped the ball, and they need to publicly apologize, which I think they're trying to do.
Does the commissioner survive this?
I would think so. I mean, look, it just seems to me the guy made a mistake, and we're all about second chances in this country. I expect that Ray Rice someday will get a second chance. After all, Michael Vick went to prison and came back, and some people, all this evolves. Ray Lewis was part of a group in which somebody was murdered. He didn't cooperate with the police, and he had no consequences. Charles Barkley threw somebody through a plate glass window and had no real consequences. With the passage of time, there are more consequences, and people become more aware of it. He's learning a lesson on the job, and I expect he'll survive it. Now, whether Ray Rice ever plays again, I don't know.
It'd be interesting to see. What did you want to talk about today?
Well, there are a couple of things I've seen in the news. One is yet another data breach, and this time Home Depot. But what brought that home for me is, as a lawyer, I regularly get emails about CLE, that's continuing legal education. Today, in my inbox, I had an offer for a continuing legal education course, which is usually like a day where you go and listen to speakers on a topic. This one is litigating data breach class actions. So there are people out there who know how to and promote cases against, among others, retailers who have data breaches. But what it really tells me is that if you have a business, your customers are going to be, or your clients are going to be extremely upset with you if you have a data breach. So most of what I was going to talk about today involves not making business for lawyers, but avoiding giving lawyers business. And one is make sure that you have IT professionals who you check with regularly on your systems to try to protect them from hacking. And hacking can come from almost any place. There are people in Russia who local businesses have nothing to do with, but they're happy to hack into your website or your arrangements and sell that to somebody who might be an unscrupulous competitor. So that's one of the two things I had in mind for today.
Yeah, let's focus on this real quick. Obviously, I got detoured because I wanted to talk about this because I think it's a pretty timely issue. But this is obviously very important with a couple of minutes left. Do you think there's going to be increased liability either through legislatively or through court decisions to try to pressure businesses to figure out how to prevent this kind of thing from happening?
Actually, I do. I think it's more likely to be through lawsuits. I mean, the judicial system usually starts getting cases and making law or precedent where the statutes don't really speak to something directly. And then at some point the legislatures come around, whether federal or state, and get involved. But I wouldn't be at all surprised to see a number of data breach cases against first the larger businesses, and then over time smaller businesses. People are going to say, you had a duty to do something. It's just like health clubs. In the old days, if you had a heart attack in a health club and nobody had a defibrillator around, there was no liability. But over time, people's awareness increased, standards increased, and you'd see lawsuits involving from families whose provider dropped dead of a heart attack and there was no defibrillator around, and they said that the health club didn't live up to contemporary standards for safety.
Yep.
So I do expect there to be more court cases revolving around data breaches.
Lee Kaplan, he's a regular contributor on The Price of Business. You can learn more about him at Smeyser, Kaplan, and Veselka's website, which is skv.com. Lee, as always, thank you for a great segment.
All right, and next week or next time, I want to talk about your drug-free workplace and what you can do about that.
Which is way better than a free drug workplace. So we'll look forward to that. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
When we come back, much more for you. We want to remind you, best content here shows up over there at usdailyreview.com. We'd like you to like it on Facebook, follow it on Twitter. Also follow my column at Huffington Post, my most recent one on Joan Rivers. Yes, Joan Rivers. It's kind of an interesting take. And we'll have more for you after this on The Price of Business.